Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday from the GenWell Project. Pete here, leading up the Connected Conversation series that we've been hosting since the start of COVID-19 to keep people connected to ideas, tips, tools, and ideas that are going to help us all get through these challenging times. Very excited about the conversation today, talking to a new Canadian, Cathy Warega, who I had the pleasure of meeting, it's probably about a year and a half ago now, maybe even two, when we hosted a GenWell Project in Toronto. Here's Cathy, so you can have a look. Cathy is somebody who's demonstrated the importance of human connection in her life back home, but also the importance and need for human connection in staying connected in a new community when she came to Canada. The GenWell Project, who hosts the Connected Conversations, is a human connection movement whose mission is to make the world a happier and healthier place by reminding us all about the importance of human connection and, more importantly, catalyzing us to take action. We launched in 2016 in order to share the message about the importance of human connection and get people connected before the crisis came. Now we're in the middle of a crisis with the pandemic, and we need each other more than ever. And certainly coming out the other side of the pandemic, with the challenges that lay ahead, whether it's in relationships, illness, financial pressure, jobs, we're going to need each other, and we're going to need each other more than ever. So today I want to welcome Cathy Warega to the conversation, the Connected Conversation, and I'm hoping you enjoy the conversation as much as I know I will with Cathy. So I'm going to bring Cathy in here now. Cathy Warega, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Pat?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for making the time to have a conversation with us today about your experience, your past, and really what you're doing now that you live in Sudbury, Ontario, and all the things you're doing to maintain connection. Because I think it'll not only will it inspire other new Canadians, but I think it'll awaken a lot of people to the role that we can play in helping connect new Canadians to their local community.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Cathy, let me start off. Before we start any of our conversations, what we like to ask people is, we're 8 months into COVID-19, and the first thing to do is to actually check in with you and say, how are you? How is your family? How is everybody holding up during COVID-19?
Wow, COVID came in and it was so traumatizing. We were all scared in a new country, far away from home and family. But anyway, as much as it was scary, we sat down and we say, we're not going to have a pity party right now. What we're going to do is to see how we can embrace COVID in a positive way and by touching lives. And GenWell came into play a lot, because what happened is, we decided, like my husband decided to get into skip the dishes and get to deliver food to the people who could not come out because they were scared or they were in quarantine. And that way he was able to connect to the people out there and tell them it's not that bad. Yes, we can still communicate. We can still spread the love, and leave a smile with them. On the other side, I also opted to actually sign into a grocery company, an app which is called Instacart, so that I could shop for the seniors, and not only the seniors, but many other people who could not get to the grocery shops or do anything because there are certain things that you can't really buy online. So you needed some human being to go shop for you and bring you. And in the process of doing that, you communicate to the client and put a smile in their face. So that way we came out of COVID and we say, we can do this despite the many negative messages that you're getting or what people are talking about, the news and all. We need to look at it positively. How are we going to impact the people around us with and leaving them with a smile and giving them hope that, yes, there is life ahead despite COVID. My son on the other side was picking berries, and that one also helped him connect with the older people. So the whole house apparently, and Tatiana, my older daughter, was also busy helping because he works with the TD credit card. And so she was busy calling them and talking to them about the credit facilities that they have for the COVID situation right now. And so I believe in my family, we try to impact life. And the people surrounding us, like our friends around, the Nigerians basically, who are mostly close to us because we don't have so many from Kenya. We were able to work together to impact other families or other people who were affected. That is what has been happening. Nonetheless, the COVID rules and regulations, we have to actually just deal with them, live by them, and spread the positivity. And spread the news why they should follow the regulations, the COVID regulations. So we've been doing all these the COVID style.
I think what I love about your response, and thank you so much for that update. I think, when you and I met at the GenWell Project luncheon at Massimo Bruno's kitchen 2 years ago, I think I couldn't have run into a person that's more aligned to what the GenWell Project is all about. Cathy, from the minute we've met, although it didn't, when you guys arrived, everybody was a little unsure of what the GenWell Project was and why we were getting connected that day and why somebody had offered to host a free lunch to bring people together. But ever since we had the chance to sit down and connect and break bread together, you've demonstrated a commitment to making the world a better place through connection. And it's obviously something that wasn't new to you when you came to Canada, but breaking through some of those walls and some of those barriers that they're just natural when you go to a new country. And I think kudos to you that you go from Toronto, where you started, now you're in Sudbury, and you are still using human connection as your means to make you feel better, make other people feel better, to build the connections and community that will support you as you live in your new city. And I think all of this is just so powerful to hear you talk about what you do so naturally. Where does that come from? Why has community been so important to you, whether it was post meeting us through GenWell, but even who you are as a human being? Why is human connection so important to you?
Yeah. One, I think I was born with joy in my life. So I'm full of joy, and this joy has to be shared. And the only way to share this joy is to share it with somebody who needs it. And why it's important to me, because I'm actually easily connected to people. I create social spot where we can all decompress. Most of the time, that is from back home in Kenya, and actually here in Canada, I've continued to do that, where we decompress, because I believe when you create this social spot, then people actually get to live a healthy life. I am also happy when I touch a life, I feel that I'm successful, because I've touched that life that was actually down, and now they're all happy. So you make them feel healthy. You make them feel, open up and share their problems, and then get over what they're going through. You make them get out of risk of, diseases and all that stuff. And that's why it is important to me that they live longer when we connect.
You know what, Cathy? It's so funny to me to listen to you talk, because I know that you do this from the heart. I know you do this because you actually care. But now, from the conversations that you and I have had over the last 2 years and the work with the GenWell Project, what I love is now you understand even the science behind it and how important it is to make people happy, to make them healthy, and how the role of human connection is as a part of creating the communities that keep us together and happier. So it's amazing to listen to you talk about it. So I have a question for you. Yep. So can you take us back? You left Kenya, you came to Canada. Can you tell us what, arriving in Canada and what the first 6 months, because I know you spent the first 6 months in a hotel, but what was that first 6 months? What was coming to Canada? What was it like as a new Canadian, and how easy did we make it as Canadians? how easy did we make it on you to build a new community in your new homeland?
Okay. Now, coming to Canada was not an easy decision to make. It was a very difficult decision. But we arrived here. And when we arrived here, first of all, we had thought about, there may be racism or culture and so many other things that were coming into play. But when we went to the hotel, we met colored people like us, mostly Nigerians, who are very friendly and very social. So in the process of the first 6 months, we did not know how to deal with the rules and regulations. For instance, a child must have a car booster, 4 or 5 years old must have a car booster to be able to ride in the car. And back at home, they can just get in and just put their seatbelt and we move. So there were a number of cultures that were coming into play that we were not used to. And it had to take us time to learn. And for us to learn was basically to try and get together and get somebody like Pete to come and talk to us. What are the cultures? We had one lady who was very nice to us. She would come and talk to us what is expected of us so that we don't break the rules. Even though it was quite difficult. At the hotel, there are many people who are coming from different countries. People were not talking. They were to themselves. They were just holding back to themselves. That was before. So there was no socializing. But with time and after the lunch at Massimo's, we came back and people were opening up. I mean, I had a neighbor who we were with at the Massimo and was not even saying hello to me on the corridors of the hotel. But after the Massimo, I mean, we left with a very, very good, important message that we need to know our neighbor. In my country, they say, know your jua jirani yako, back in my country, know your neighbor, because you never know what they may be going through. So when we got back to the hotel, there was a lot of socializing. There was a lot of talking to each other. And people opened up, so you could even find somebody confiding in you and making their burden less weightier. I mean, less easier to carry because now they were sharing the burden with us. And it improved our lives, including my life. It improved my life because I was so worried when I got here. And just talking to people made me feel happier that, I was home. I felt more at home and the process was seamless. Another thing I need to say is that the government of Canada was a very important role in me as a new immigrant and many other immigrants. They made it seamless from, financial aid, Ontario Works, as in you didn't need any finances to do anything. Everything was readily placed for you. So the government of Canada really played a big role for us.
You know what? That's amazing to me. And thank you for saying all those things, because I think whether it's the people that were hands-on with you, whether it was the government, I think everybody's always thrilled to hear when, new Canadians have a positive thing to say about the experience. And I'm sure not every experience goes well. So it's great to hear when that does happen. Let me ask you this question, and it's something that's even stuck with me over the course of the time that we've known each other, and it really comes down to how can so many people in a small space, you're all new to Canada, you're living in the hotel, which is kind of your transition area, and yes, I understand Nigerians, Kenyans, Ethiopians, and the question is that. How is it that you didn't feel comfortable to have a conversation with each other? What's the barrier there that people feel? And what is it that, maybe the GenWell Project as the catalyst helped, but I'm curious, what was the mindset that you think that was preventing people from talking to each other?
I think basically, first of all, it depends on somebody's nature. There are people who are born to talk to everybody, like me. I would just approach you and talk to you. There are people who are born to keep to themselves. And they're afraid of to confide on each other. But what was creating this is that they were not getting a platform to start them off. They were not getting people to reach to them like now. Petu came and reached to me and told me, Cathy, I need you to come and have lunch with me. Food brings people together, and that's when I start talking to you and you get to know me more and I get to know you more. Now, there was no platform in that sense in the hotel. There were so many people, I must say, but the platform to connect was not there because everybody was, I think I believe there was fear that, or they may know my story, or I'm going through so much, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to get over this, or I've left my people in my country, I don't know what's happening there, I don't know what's going to happen to me here in future.
Yeah.
Unknown. They were just afraid of the unknown. But the most important thing is they didn't have a platform to connect socially and to be able to confide in each other safely.
It's such a thank you for that response, because I think that really is what the GenWell Project is all about, which is if we can create the occasions for people and say, hey, today or this weekend, it's all about getting connected with one another, whether you're in a transitional place as a new Canadian, whether you live in a street, whether you're in a workplace, if we can create more occasions that help people, understand how important it is for their health, but secondly, say, okay, well, today we're all supposed to connect. So, hey, Cathy, what are you doing? Can we get together? Can we have coffee? Can we break bread? Can we, spend some time together? That is what we're all about. And that's what that day and that GenWell Project was about, was getting people connected. So it's so wonderful, because I also know that after the GenWell Project that you attended, that you went back and you started hosting GenWell Project style activities and creating the platform for people to connect in the hotel. Can you tell me a little more about what you did after the GenWell Project? And we'll talk about GenWell that day and lunch as well. But what did you do after you understood more about how important human connection was coming out of the GenWell Project lunch?
Okay, the lunch at Massimo was a life changer, mostly at the hotel, because when we left there, there is a couple that I was not talking to, like I earlier said. We started communicating. And when we got to the hotel, we said, hey, listen, how can we make life different from everybody here? Everyone is going through different situation right now, and everybody must be low. Some are happy. And how can we make it better for everybody to connect and meet together and share happiness, share love? And we had a tea party. It's a small tea party, and mandazi are donuts. So in other words, in Nigeria, they call it poof poof. Poof poof. So they're very sweet donuts. And we said, yeah, let's start with a small group, bring people together. We talked to a few people who we were never talking to. But yes, they just came downstairs at the dining area just to find out what was happening. And I think the message was quite welcoming, that they all converged together, and we created something like a group. Out of that, we created a group where we could now easily communicate to each other. And since money also can bring you together and you want to know where your money is going to, we decided to have a small contribution group called Chama, whereby if you're 10 people, now Cathy will get this total amount that is contributed by everybody else. And that way, since there is your money involved, you want to be in the group meetings and get to hear what's happening. And that way it creates tight relationship. It harnessed our relationship with each other. And so far that even made more people come in. And so there was engagement, connection. There were healthy lives that were coming up. There was happiness. And you could see little happiness being spread from this small discussion to a larger discussion. So that's what happened. And we continued holding social meetings, just to talk about the weather,
Yeah. What I love about that, Cassie, is there's two things. Number one, you talked about the person that you hadn't spoken to before, your neighbor at the hotel, that, you went down to the lunch and all of a sudden now you were talking to each other. So to me, that was breaking down one of those walls. But I also remember you telling me one time that when you went back and you were hosting your tea party, that somebody said to you, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you getting people together? And it was, people want to see, everybody's afraid to be the first person. Yeah. But once one person starts, and once that person extends a hand and says, hey, why don't we get together? then other people want to be a part of it, because we all desire to be connected to one another. And sometimes it takes a leader like you to step up and actually create the connection. So I just think it's important for us to see it's not just the people that you are talking to or your neighbor, it's when other people see you doing it and they also desire human connection. And now you start to build on it and build on it. And so if you're on a street, if you're in a business, or if you're in a community, that it won't happen right away. But if we do the small things, if we start with 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, and we keep building it, that I think that's the important message for all of us to hear.
True.
So Cathy, can you take me back to the day when we met? And so you're at the hotel and you get on the bus and you're heading down to Massimo Bruno's kitchen studio. And a huge shout out to Massimo Bruno today, because this GenWell project that we are talking about, Massimo was kind enough and gracious enough to donate his entire facility, donate all the food. And if it wasn't for him stepping up and making that happen, we wouldn't have been able to host 35 new Canadians and help them get connected. So the GenWell Project paid for the bus to help get people down to the kitchen studio, to Massimo's place. And I think the combination, and this is what we are really trying to do, is how can we work with businesses? How can we work with chefs? How can we work with people in communities across this country? You're up in Sudbury now. Wouldn't it be great if we could find a chef or an organization when we can get back to connecting face to face who wants to pull that together as well? So that day you're at the hotel, you get on the bus. Tell me what happened that day of the GenWell Project event down at Massimo Bruno's.
I'll tell you that when we got into the bus, we were a number of people from the hotel. Nobody was talking to each other. We sat in the bus. I was with my husband. I was just talking to my husband. Everybody was talking to their either husbands or children, and nobody was talking to each other. And so I was like, what's happening here? And my husband made a joke and said, I know you'll start talking to people here because it's my nature. And I'm like, everyone is to themselves. Let's see what's awaiting us at Massimo. And when we got there, the welcome we got by GenWell Project was quite amazing. And the people who were involved, they were so welcoming. They were all smiles. And they're like, yeah, this is where it should be. And when we got there, the message I left with basically was human connection, how important human connection can be, and how important sharing meals can open up attention to connect with other people. So what happened at Massimo was quite interesting. You spoke so well about the healthy life. The importance of human connection, why we should connect, and that's the message I left with. That it will give me health, good health, long life. Wellness, and the important thing is that when you share a meal with somebody, is that's when you start opening up into a fellowship program. And that fellowship can grow into opening and making other human beings happier and healthier.
That is amazing. And I just want to let you know that George, your nephew, is watching from Kenya. And he just wants to say that it's good to hear about your experience. And it's also, he wants to let you know that you're a great cook and a great host.
Oh.
Hey, isn't this the amazing thing? And I do want to ask you this, but I don't want to get off this point. Isn't it amazing that technology, while we're going through the pandemic, is allowing us to stay connected with people around the world? And George, thank you for tuning in today to hear your aunt talk about, the GenWell Project and her experience getting connected with people. I hope, George, hopefully you'll become an ambassador for the GenWell Project in Kenya, because we need ambassadors all around the world that understand how important human connection is to each other. So, but I just wanted to let you know that, Cathy, that George had made a couple posts to let us know he was watching. But I think, that day, what was really powerful, if you remember, I think we stayed for about 2 hours. If you remember, it was somebody's birthday and we sang happy birthday, but I think we sang it in 2 or 3 different languages.
Yeah.
We went around and we connected with each other. Massimo spoke and told his story, his story about how much food is at the heart of bringing people together.
Yeah, though.
Massimo's purpose behind food is not about eating food. Yes, it is about nourishment, but what he believes is the importance of food is about bringing people together in families. And I think, and what I also loved about that event was we had some kids there, some young kids there. And I think it was really important to see that the young kids were playing together. And as we know, young kids don't care. They don't care who you are. They don't care what you look like. They don't care. Massimo's daughter was there. My son was there. There was other kids there, and kids just want to play. And I think right now it's really important for us all to remember that human connection, whether you're young, you're old, you're a new Canadian, an old Canadian, we all benefit from human connection. And I think your story about coming out to the GenWell Project and how simple it was, just give us a platform, just give us an excuse to reach out and get connected with other people was just so inspiring. And I do, and I have to say, one of the greatest things for me coming out of that is you and I and your husband took a picture on the way out the door.
And he should share it. He has it.
I have it, and I should have put it on here, and I didn't. But maybe I'll do that as a follow-up post to this conversation. Okay. Because as we left, the number of hugs, which, hey, I think we're all missing hugs in time of COVID.
Yeah.
But all the hugs and all the connection that people had, I think what I certainly sensed is from people that were new to Canada, just knowing that people actually cared, just knowing that somebody wanted to do something that was nice and kind, made you feel welcome. And if that is how it made you feel, that to me is the greatest compliment to Massimo and the effort that he made to making it happen. Maybe you can tell me more on the way home. At the end of the meal, 2 hours, and on the way home, what changed? For you and for the other people at the hotel.
Okay. What changed is that there was more communication amongst us. So there was more connection. People gelled in automatically. They didn't have to force it. People just gelled in. We were happy. We were singing on our way home. And when we got there, everybody who was left behind was like, where are you guys coming from? And why are you so happy? When we left, we were not happy. When we got back, we were very, very happy. And we said, we'll have a tea party one of these fine days and you'll get to find out. And they did find out for sure. Yeah. So it changed our whole game plan of how we think, how we feel. And there was a lot of confiding in each other, happiness, laughter, and people were happy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing that once the catalyst happens, that it just makes people happy, because especially in your situation, having been here for, I think at that point, maybe 4 months, having not been able to connect with people outside of mainly the hotel, that just by giving you the catalyst to get connected with other people, that was actually something that gave you great happiness. Yeah. And the amazing thing is it made everybody happier and healthier as they move forward. We've got some other people. I think it's Wood Pacho, Asembo Pacho.
That's my husband.
He says watching from Kaluo.
No, he's watching from upstairs.
That's awesome. Well, we're getting the international flair one way or another. The other person I want to call out, if you remember the baked goods, is Susie Duragon, who also contributed all the baked goods that everybody, not only did we have beautiful desserts at the meal, but we also we were all given packages of treats to take home to our families, which again was such a beautiful gesture on the part of one person who wanted to be a part. And you've got your GenWell Project glasses.
And T-shirts.
And all the things that we did in order to, let people know that we cared about you. We care about all the new people coming to Canada. And we want to make sure that people feel welcome when they get here, because without that connection, without that community, without that understanding, we can't build the empathy and compassion that we need to care about one another. So it was just so great to be able to make that connection. So a huge shout out to Susie. She runs a program called the Bake It Forward program, where she bakes goods and helps homeless people and other people that are in need. So she's got a program, but she loved the work that we were doing as well. So it was great to have her as part of the GenWell Project. Yep. So now you live in Sudbury, and you're creating a new life for yourself in Sudbury. So tell us what life is like in Sudbury today. Obviously, we're in the middle of COVID-19, so it's a different life. But tell me, you moved from Toronto once you got out of the transition hotel. Tell me what life is like now, and tell me what the role of human connection is for you in Sudbury now.
Okay, moving to Sudbury, that was the best decision I ever made. And why we wanted to also move to Sudbury, because we were coming from Kenya and we wanted to start slow and learn the rules and regulations for this country in a slow manner, but not in a fast-paced place like Toronto. So moving into Sudbury, first of all, we were able to get houses. Housing was the most important thing. And the government of Sudbury the government of Canada really made it possible with the help of the MP of Sudbury to make that transition very seamless for us. So you're leaving the hotel into your own house, not into another hotel. So that really was seamless, and the houses were ready for you, and you just moved in. A number of us from the hotel actually moved into Sudbury. Most of them Nigerians, a few Ugandans, and maybe one Kenyan is what I know here. And having all moved here, we decided that we are still going to keep our human connection going and brewing. And so we've tried to do that through wellness challenges, whereby we get to meet together, we go for a run together, the COVID style way currently, but before it was just the normal way. And it has still promoted the GenWell Project. We've continued to share meals through birthdays or just a thank you day meal. We just get to meet to say thank you, Lord, for giving us this good start, a seamless start. And that also has created a very good connection for human beings. We met neighbors here who may not have been as cosmopolitan as it is in Toronto. And most of them will be like, Sudbury being on the northern side, they're like shocked and wondering, who are these? Where are they coming from? Colored people. And so I'll talk about my neighbor. I mean, we really didn't get along, because where we come from, we would party, we would talk, we'll meet, we'll laugh. And the walls here in Canada are not concrete like the ones back at home. So the next neighbor can hear everything that's happening in your. We didn't know that. So the neighbor comes in and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. So there's the bad vibe between us. And the next day I just decide, let me make some African meal. I take it to her and I dropped it to her. And she received it. She never brought back my plate, the bowl. Then we are still on a bad vibe. And another day now, I put a bottle of with some drink and some more food, and I take. And the next day, I see her son playing with my son, and she's monitoring them. And I'm like, wow, the fellowship has just begun. So it was not as easy, because probably it's far north and they're not used to cosmopolitan. But now the cosmopolitan was moving into their space very fast. The feel is moving into their space very fast, and they had to learn. So that's how we started connecting with my neighbors who are actually Canadian. And they came to understand why it is important. And their anger actually slowed down, because you could hear them angry when they shout and do this in their own space. But now it actually went down, and you could see there was love. We could say hello, we could hug, and that really made me happy. It touched my life. It really touched my soul. And I was like, it's working. It's working. Not only for us colored people, but even for the real Canadians. And they started now spreading with the help of a lady who lives here in Canada, who actually received as well and started teaching us about the regulations. Even her, she's really helped a lot in that. So we bring in birthdays, tea parties, the COVID style. We put it up out in the backyard, and people come, even the Canadians, and we talk over nothing, over the weather, and laugh and be happy. And you realize that people even confide in you safely on matters that they've been going through, and you actually find solutions without knowing for them. And Sudbury, there are so many people who have been into, what would I say without putting it badly, but I want to say like they're so down until they're into drugs. But you see some of them coming out of it because now they've realized somebody is meeting them halfway. Again, they didn't have a spot. They didn't have a platform for somebody to meet them halfway. But if you meet them halfway and show them that in Africa we love people, and here we will love you the same, and we expect you to love us the same, and love the other neighbor the same way. And then you drop little happiness left, right, center, and everyone is happy. So GenWell is working, and you need to keep doing it. It's working.
Cathy, honestly, I could listen to you talk for hours because you have, this was already you. I know that this wasn't all new for you, but I think the opportunity to become an ambassador for the GenWell Project, to be a champion of human connection. And I think your comments are really so important for people to hear. Canadians, a lot of us haven't had a lot of exposure to people not like us. That's not true. That's a terrible comment. We've had lots of exposure, but whether we're willing to build the bridges between communities, that's the important part. We can live amongst us, but really what the next step is actually building the connection between us, because it's building that connection between us that creates happier, safer, more buoyant communities where we actually live in peace and happiness versus, creating this community and that community, and everybody isolates themselves and stays within themselves instead of building the bridges between communities. And that's what I think you do each and every day, whether it's with your neighbor or whether it's with, all the different people that you come across. It's saying, hey, I love people, whatever color they are, from whatever country they are. We are all here. We're all here together. And wouldn't it be best if we could build some bridges, make some connections, and celebrate life together, because that's really what will make us happier and healthier in the long run. So thank you again for constantly championing this message. It's so important. And I really do believe that you have become an ambassador for the GenWell Project. And maybe we can go to the mayor of Sudbury and see if he'll support a GenWell Project Day in Sudbury, where we encourage all Sudburyans to actually get connected face to face after the pandemic.
Yeah.
How are you using technology through the pandemic to stay connected with people virtually? I'm assuming you used and have been using for a long time technology to stay connected with friends back home, but how are you using it? Are you using it locally to stay connected to people in Sudbury, or maybe some people that you met back in Toronto as well?
Yeah, Zoom basically is the major one that we use. WhatsApp, video calls and all that, because WhatsApp, you can have a group call. I'm rarely on Facebook, so most of the time I'm on WhatsApp or Zoom and connecting with people. But most of the time, I'd always like people who are around me that we meet face to face, because that makes a big difference. But we also do it the COVID style. Luckily, the space we have here is enough, and we can always meet at the backyard. With the winter coming now, maybe that will not be possible. But yes, we do the COVID style meetings, and we fellowship together. So that's how we've been doing it.
I think that's amazing. And certainly as we get into the winter, to your point, I think we may find it challenging, whether it's too cold. Certainly Sudbury, I think, deals with some cold challenges, but maybe it's just mobility, whether it's you won't be able to drive, you won't be able to walk, you won't be able to. So I think, using technology is a great way to supplement the face-to-face interactions that we all benefit from will be a great thing. I know we're working with a lady in Paris, Ontario, and she's going to actually host we're calling Paris Connects. And so she's going to invite anybody who wants to come on to a Zoom call once a week through the winter to come on just to have a conversation. We'll talk about subjects. We're going to be part of it as well. And I think that's a great opportunity for everybody in communities across this country, welcoming people to be part of a conversation, not for a business, not to sell anything, but actually just to help people stay connected. Certainly elderly might need it. People that are struggling might need it. People who just want to have a chat about what's going on in the world may want to have a conversation. And I think we all benefit from getting that time over the course of the colder, darker days of the winter. Tell me, Cathy, how much, what value do you think the GenWell Project message is to, let's pick the people of Sudbury. What difference do you think the GenWell Project could make in Sudbury to the people who live there today?
I think it would make a very, very big difference. Because if you bring in GenWell into Sudbury, I mean, it will maintain, you will actually promote maintaining contact with each other, and actually creating also, if you come and create in a setting like, let's say, a wellness challenge to people, it will bring them together. It will give them health. It will give them life. It will give them, prolonged life. And it will make people open up more and be friendly. And in Sudbury, like I said, it's far north, then it will make them actually embrace each other in a positive way. So it's very important that GenWell Project can be actually embarked back in Sudbury, so that it can promote the human connection and build up their life, their health.
I really appreciate you saying that. When we post this video, we're going to tag the mayor of Sudbury, and hopefully we can get his support in spreading the message to the community. There certainly are people in all communities across this country that are the ambassadors like you are to human connection. But as we know, there's lots of people who don't, for many different reasons, feel comfortable reaching out. It could be loneliness and isolation. It could be job loss. It could be financial pressure, relationship issues, illness. There's so many reasons why people, and New Canadians is a great example. Many people don't feel comfortable reaching out to other people. And we've been brought up in a world where we didn't show that we were vulnerable, and that we didn't show that we didn't feel ourselves. And right now, I think it's a really important message to recognize that it's okay not to be okay. And whatever struggle you're facing, one of the greatest things we can do, a new study even out of Harvard 6 weeks ago, showing that the single largest preventative action we can all take to avoid depression is social connection. We also know there was another study that showed that it's directly linked to type 2 diabetes. We know that social connection can reduce our chances of heart disease. We know it can reduce our chances of stroke, dementia. So many different aspects of our health are impacted by the feeling of being connected to other people. And so before we wrap up here, Cathy, I just want to again say thank you to you. We need more people like Cathy Warega who are willing to build bridges with other people, with other communities, and to actually say, hey, I just want to connect. I just want to be happy. I just want to share the love. You talk about love so often, and I think it's such a beautiful message for other people to hear. And I just want to say thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for carrying the message of the GenWell Project with you wherever you go, because whether it's Toronto, whether it's Sudbury, whether it's new friends, old friends, your next door neighbors, everybody benefits from greater human connection in their lives. And having somebody like you who's the catalyst to make it happen is such a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for doing what you do. But I do have one more question for you. And it's the same question that we ask everybody as we wrap up our connected conversations is when we have the vaccine, when we can get back to seeing other people face to face, how do you think you're going to celebrate? What are you going to do to celebrate the fact that we can get back together with people again?
I will first of all create a very big spot where where I can actually have a social gathering where everybody can decompress, and socialize positively and safely. And I'll find many more reasons to celebrate apart from the vaccine has been found, so that we can get to meet more. So there'll be more reasons to meet. And so I'll look for birthday parties, come for more tea and stuff like that. And I'll also actually try to inspire positive connection, engagement, whereby you come in together so that you can be inspired. So maybe I'll have to bring you on board, invite you to Sudbury. So with the help of the mayor, if he agrees that you can get everybody on board, invite you to Sudbury after all this is done, so that we can find a reason to celebrate, share a meal, and make it happen.
How about we make a commitment? And as I say, we're going to share this with the mayor of Sudbury, and I'll make a commitment that I will come to Sudbury if the mayor agrees to, acknowledge, Human Connection Day or the GenWell Project Day, and we can get all of Sudbury to reach out to one another as a proactive health measure that we can all take in order to make the world a happier and healthier place. And you, my friend, will be the beacon of light, the ray of sunshine that makes it all happen, because you're the one that's reaching out and getting people connected and being inspired by a simple message from the GenWell Project, is that we all benefit from greater human connection in our lives. Cathy, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing a bit of your journey, a bit of the story about what it's like to be a Canadian, a new Canadian, but now you're a Canadian, and we're grateful that you're here. We're grateful that you're sharing your love and your passion for other people and for connection, because together we can make the world a happier and healthier place by getting people connected wherever they are in this country.
Yeah. You're welcome, Pete.
Thank you, my friend. I know that we'll be talking soon.
Yeah.
All the best to you, your husband, and your children. Stay safe, stay healthy, and please stay connected during these crazy times of the pandemic.
Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay, my friend. Bye for now.